You don't want to be putting all your profits into growth 3 years down the track because you've got to get paid at some point. But in this one, every month she would put 25% of her planned revenue from the next month into product. Welcome to the E-Hustle. I'm Paul Waddy. As always, if you like what I do, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, all that sort of stuff. It really helps. So today we're talking about scaling an ecom business to $100,000 a month with one full-time team member, you. Okay, so I've helped a bunch of brands over the years, and I've seen a few that have managed to get up to that $100,000 a month mark without having any staff, often from by working from home. And I took one of these clients and I broke it down, and I've created this podcast today. So we're going to run through the steps. So firstly, I've broken it down into the 10 key steps that we ran through with her to get her to that magic $100,000 a month mark. And before you ask, yes, she's profitable, 20%. 100,000 is also ex GST. So she's doing really well. Still working from home, by the way. So first, she took a break to reset. Now, her old business was in a competitive space with no clear differentiator. It was one of those generic ecom brands. There was no product market fit, nothing special. She was burning cash on ads and just stuck in that rut. So we hit pause, liquidated the stock, brought some cash in, and thought, let's find a better product idea, better suppliers, and a new niche with real potential. So step two, we started with good unit economics. So in this one, we focused on high margin products of over 70%, often 75% and above. Before, her business was starting around 60% margin and she was discounting. So that margin was being eroded even further still, which meant there was never really any real profit at the end of the day. So we had to get the pricing right from the start. So high margins, over 70% for this one. Step three addressed inventory. So what about inventory? Okay, so in this one, we brought down the MOQs, the minimum order quantities, to as low as we possibly could, building up just enough to get around 8 weeks worth of cover. Cover meaning got enough stock to make sales for the next 8 weeks. So we brought that quite low. Before, she was ordering way too much stock up front, tying up all her cash, really limiting her ability to refresh her range because the money was tied up in the stock that's sitting on the shelves not moving. Your customers want to see stock every month, particularly in that field, if not more, every 2 weeks or so. And she wasn't able to do that because she had no money. You don't want to get into that habit of borrowing to get through that cycle, because if it doesn't feel right, it's not right. So kind of to repeat that point, if you have that business and you're sort of holding a lot of stock, sitting on the shelves, you're not moving through it in, say, 3 months, and then you find my ads have gone stale, my revenue's stale, I need to drop new product, you then have to borrow to drop new product before you've sold through enough of the old product. That's a problem. You're going to run out of money. You shouldn't be doing that. That's an indicator that there's something wrong with your business model. You're not turning your inventory quick enough, which either means that your order quantities are too high or your sales are too low. It doesn't matter which. They're both the same problem, and you need to fix it now. The next step was a lot of people want to quit their jobs really soon as they start their online business, and she didn't. And why would she? She had a job that allowed her to do this side hustle, so she kept that job for at least another 6 months, got that money, that regular income, and she was able to feed her online business, particularly with inventory. Feed it, put more stock, put bigger ranges into the business, really build it up and develop that following while she was still getting paid, because we don't want to bleed our businesses dry, particularly in the first 12 months. Now, a real big question we get here a lot from brands is, but what about reinvesting for growth? Yep, really good point, and that was important. So this particularly for a new business, you don't want to be putting all your profits into growth 3 years down the track because you've got to get paid at some point. But in this one, every month she would put 25% of her planned revenue from the next month into product. Okay, so with roughly a 75% margin, that kept the inventory at the right level to grow without draining cash. I'm not going to go into where I get that 25% from, but trust me, it's right. And the way that I would do that when I spend that money is I would always take care of grade A replenishment first. So in other words, grade A product drives 80% of your revenue. I'd go into Shopify. I would check my grade A product. I would spend that 25% of my next month's revenue replenishing grade A. So anything that was going to deplete, I'd place those orders. And then I would go into new product. Now, I don't want to do sort of too many variants in new product in this particular category, which was apparel based, but I do need new product to get new customers and to bring people back, because that's the thing about new product. Choice is really important. It's why you go into your favorite stores in physical malls or shopping centers. You go in there to see what have they got this week. The same applies in an online store. If you go 3 months and you haven't dropped a product, your customers are going to drop off the same way that you would. So it's important to freshen up that range quite frequently and make sure we're showing new products, but not too many variants of the same thing. No women's dress business needs, 9 colors of the same dress. No handbag business needs 10 variations of the same handbag. 2 or 3 variants, maybe 4, low quantities, test it. Some will be grade A, double down on the grade A. Repeat harder on the grade A after you've tested on low MOQs on the variants. So we want depth across categories. So we want that category, that category, that category, that category. So when someone hits the store, they would buy multiple products. We don't want a store with 30 t-shirts, right? We want the t-shirt, the hat, the shorts, the sock, the outfit. We want the occasion and the outfit. Forget collections, forget categories. Shop by occasion, start buying by occasion. There's a little tip for you there. Step 6 was all about keeping it lean. So she minimized her costs using her community and small influencers for photo shoots. It's much easier to control cost than sales. So we built those good habits early. So we really leveraged UGC, 50 influencers a week, reaching out to them, giving product away in exchange for videos, asking some of her favorite customers or influencers to go into the photo shoots, never really spending big dollars at all. And, content's a volume game. Reach out to 6 or 7 will say no. Reach out to 50 a day, 1 a day will say yes. And that's all you need to get that content instead of going through agencies. Now, the other thing she did is she managed her paid media herself. And I own an agency, but I will also say that at this stage, I recommend you run your own paid media. Now, I think every founder needs to learn at some point how to run ads. It helps build good habits. It helps build knowledge. It prevents a dependency on an agency. And then eventually, when you use the agency, you're able to have good, meaningful conversations. So in the early days, saving money, run your own ads. Now, paid ads weren't the main focus of this particular business, though. We shifted this business to largely focus on organic content. Now, you heard earlier I said 50 influencers a day is what we reached out to. And so we relied heavily on that UGC, the user-generated content. We used video on the product pages, a lot of video in social media content. Now, before 80% of her sales were coming from Facebook ads, and that's obviously a high MER, which eats into your profitability. And actually, she was losing 10 cents for every dollar spent on Facebook ads, but needed to keep spending to get the cash in to pay the bills. So that's why we had to shut that business down. You can't really unravel from that most times. So she was stuck in that paid media vortex. Now Facebook ads plays a part and it supports the business rather than driving the business. Step 9 was all about getting her financials in order. And if you know me, I talk a lot about strength in the numbers. The easiest way to grow your business is to scrutinize the numbers. Now, before she wasn't able to open Xero. And when she did, it was a mess. And now she's running a Xero file that could rival a $50 million business. Knowing her numbers gave her control over what levers to pull. And that is one of the keys to scaling, knowing the levers to pull. But how can you do that if you can't log into your profit and loss statement and know where to cut costs, know where to double down, and so on? So really nailing those numbers was one of the keys for her. Next, no discounts. She stopped discounting completely and protected her brand. With low MOQs, very low minimum order quantities, she didn't need to overstock. Therefore, she didn't need to go on sale. When you go on sale, too often, people wait for you to go on sale. We didn't want that brand. We wanted a high margin brand where people pay top dollar all year round. So we eliminated discounting because we saw the damage that the discounting did in her previous business. So the pressure to discount was also eliminated because we were running a very lean business. So the pressure to bring that cash in wasn't there. The margins were high. It was a nice lean business. So we weren't always desperate for cash. The stock that we were ordering was low quantity. We didn't desperately need the cash, which meant we didn't have to discount, which meant customers learned that we didn't discount. What's the lesson or the takeaway there is to keep it simple, diversify your strategy, operate within a framework, your framework. So I have my 50-30-20 framework. If you haven't seen what that's about, check out some of my content and adapt that 50-30-20 rule for you. It's all about frameworks. A lot of you listening will have great ideas for products. You'll be really strong creatives. Maybe you don't have the business skills. Great. There are frameworks that I teach brands to just stay inside these frameworks, put the blinkers on and just follow this plan whilst being creative within a certain set framework. So the good news is anyone can do this. It wasn't a product that changed the world. Anyone can upskill in e-commerce. You just need to be willing to learn. And I think when I look back at this particular client, her goal was always to have, that $100,000 to $150,000 a month business. And her goal was to buy a house. She didn't want it to be, a $50 million, $100 million monster. So again, that was her strategy. And we crafted this strategy that was suitable for that business model. If you're trying to get to $100, $200, $300 million, you probably have a completely different strategy. But my point is really keep things simple, control the controllables. You can't control sales, so control your costs, influence sales, keep putting that 25% or so, depending on your COGS, put that into new product each month or product each month. Prioritize 1, replenishing of grade A, and 2, going into new categories and new products. Not like moving from clothes to surfboards. I'm talking about moving from, t-shirts to sweaters or t-shirts to jeans. Natural extensions, right? We don't want to cannibalize. We don't want this or that products. We want this and that products. We want and products, not or products. And so what happens is when you're in that rut and you're stale and your ads are tiring or fatiguing, people aren't buying from you, your conversion rate's low, probably what you've done is launched a product that doesn't have product market fit, or you haven't dropped product in quite a while. And here's a big myth, right? Low conversion rate is generally not down to your website. Low conversion rate is generally down to product market fit. Poor performance on your Facebook ads is generally down to a lack of demand for what you're supplying. Again, that comes down to product market fit. If you don't have product market fit, your chances of failure are excelled greatly. Yes, you can throw lots of money at paid media and make some sales, but sales isn't making money. What's making money is what you're left with after you've paid your bills, not what you sell. So let's repeat that. Making money, the money you make, is what you're left with at the end of the day after you've paid everyone else. That's how you should judge your business. And if that business is not paying you well enough, a couple of years in, then it might be time to change strategy. See you next week.